There's three of us at work, and we all kind of got it at the same time and we all did work together in the same area, and we all work in the field. So I was actually at a school function, had like, a hot dog or a hamburger or something, and it was 6 or 8 hours later, I broke out in this terrible, hives, and my hands were swelling up, and throat was feeling scratchy, and my wife said, just take some Benadryl and go back to sleep. So I chugged some Benadryl. Didn't help. I was getting worse. I was getting kind of like, it was scary, So I ended up going to an emergency room, and they took me right in and put me on a Benadryl IV. And then after that, I just tried to figure out what was going on, what caused this, And it seemed like, at the time we were camping a lot. It seemed like every time we went camping, I'd have these allergy outbreaks that we just couldn't figure out. And I kind of finally narrowed down, okay, it's meat. It must be some kind of meat I'm eating. And I thought, well, at the time, I thought maybe it's had something to do with chemicals in the meat or the grains, the foods and stuff. So maybe if I got organic food, that would be better. And I got tested by an allergist, and she just said, you're allergic to anything on a hoof at the time. And this was like 2005, and she said, I'd never seen anything like it. She had never heard of it before, and she never seen anything like it. And she just said, just don't eat anything on a hoof. And it was, well, I guess it was years later when Tina finally said that it has to do with this tick. So it's like years later before we figured out what it was. So I didn't know for years what it was about at all. You go to a restaurant, you have to really look at the menu, and you have to question everything you order, because you can't, just because it says it's this doesn't mean it doesn't have beef or pork in it. You go to like cover dish dinners at church or something, you're going down the line, and you almost feel guilty because you're asking people, what's in that? What is that, turkey pepperoni in that salad, or what is it exactly? So it limits you what you want to eat, or what you can eat, I guess I should say, because you're looking at something thinking, well, that's pork and beans, for instance. Okay, I can't eat baked beans unless you get vegetable beans, but you have to know, I have to buy it. So you're going down the line of food, and you're just picking out some kind of salad maybe, and some, a piece of cake. Because you just don't know what you're going to maybe eat. So that's probably the biggest thing about it. You just don't know what you're putting in your mouth. Even in restaurants, you have to be very, just on top of it, saying, okay, is there any beef? Is there any pork? Is there anything kind of meat in this food at all? Because I can't eat it. And you tell your waitress, I have an allergy to beef and pork, and they're like, wow, I've never heard of such a thing. And then they have to go back. Sometimes they ask the chef exactly if there is anything in there or not, So it's a whole new process to go through, and it affects your family too, because now my kids and my wife, we don't buy, which is probably better for us. We don't buy as much red meat and pork, but it's turkey burgers or Boca burgers or whatever burgers all the time, and turkey bacon, and so it's changed their diets. They're always they always want a steak, which is fine, but I just can't have it. It kind of isolates you too from people, because you say, well, I can't, almost like it kind of makes you feel guilty that you can't eat the same thing everybody else is eating. It's like they kind of like, at times you feel like people look at you and think there's something wrong with you, because, you know what I mean, kind of. I've just been very stringent about watching what I eat. I did get an EpiPen right away after my first outbreak, and I ended up in the emergency room. But after that, I'm really diligent about what I eat. I've had outbreaks since then, but I'll just drink Benadryl and try to stay on top of it.
You ever have to use the EpiPen?
I never did, and it expired, so I never got another one, because I never used it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to be real careful. And I think maybe her allergies maybe is more intense than mine is. It's not that it doesn't affect me, because it does, but I think some of the things like the toothpaste or the shampoo and the deodorant, I mean, maybe I'm just using stuff that doesn't affect me, but it seemed like it doesn't affect me maybe as much as maybe some other people, perhaps. Yeah. Different levels of the same allergies, perhaps. Absolutely, because I mean, especially this area where there's so many people that hunt and fish, and they're out in the wild, all the time. And I think that's probably one of the things that affect a lot of people, and maybe in other areas farther, like in the farther south maybe, because I think they've had that disease there longer than we've had it farther north. Your hunters that are out there in the woods all the time, or people working outside, that they're probably a lot more affected by it than we are. So, and you don't hear anything about it hardly. So people need to be told more about it, and hunters and just people that work outside need to be told about it more, so that they can be aware of it and be more diligent about being safe out there. Well, we've got a small group of people or technicians in our group. At that time, I think there was like 18 or 20 of us. Now we're down to about 12 people, but we all three worked together that same year in the same area, in the same fields and houses and woods and what have you. So we all got the allergy the same time. So
If you don't mind me asking, what was the area?
well, Angola, Long Neck
right,
Road, Oak Orchard area, that area, that was our area where we were working in at the time, and we were all three in that area. So, but and the biggest thing I do is just, I guess, as you visit with people or friends or go to houses, obviously if you go to somebody's house for dinner, it's going to come up in conversation. And once again, that's a kind of a weird thing, because you'll go to somebody's house and they know, but then they forgot, and they're cooking burgers and hot dogs and stuff, and then they're like, oh, I forgot you can't eat this, can you? No, so now you're making them feel, a little bit embarrassed by it too. So it's just not out there enough. People don't know about it enough. That's the best thing I can say.